Welcome everybody to today's lesson, CSS Pagination. If this is your first time, kindly support by subscribing, liking, and sharing this video. And let's see what is pagination. So, pagination is a sequence of pages which are connected and have similar content. So if you have a lot of pages, you may wish to add some sort of pagination which would group these pages together. So you have, and most of you have seen this at the bottom of most web pages, that when you click it, it takes you to the next page, and then you have similar content, and then you can go to the first page or the last page or whatever. So this is what we are going to be coding. The CSS styling, this view that you see here. And so let's go straight to the code section. So guys, this is my HTML uh, format. I only have the H2 header here saying Advanced CSS Pagination. So the first thing we want to do is create our content. So I'm going to create a div which is going to host. It's going to be our container for hosting our pagination. So this div, we're going to style it. So I'm going to have a class here, and I'm going to call this pagination. Okay, and then in this div, I'm going to have a bunch of anchor elements, right? That's for the redirection to the pages. But because I don't want it to go anywhere, I'm going to use the uh, hash so it doesn't go anywhere. And then I'm going to have my content right here. So the first thing, I'm going to leave the first one, but I'm going to just go and put about 4 or 5, which is okay. And I'm gonna have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and not 5, 4, and maybe 5. And I'm gonna have a final one here. And this time I'm gonna leave this. So what I want to do is I want to have my left and right arrows. And the way we get that is we have this neat little and left A Q U O, right? So this is going to be that symbol, and then I'm going to have the same thing but for the right. So but this time right, and I'm going to have LAQUO, right? Did I say LARA, right? And then QUO. Okay, good. So I have this. So I have my stuff set up. If I just refresh this, you see the um, pagination showing, right? We have to style this a little bit, so I'm going to do my first styling. So I go to my style, and then I'm going to target my class pagination, and let's say we want it to be the display should be inline block, right? So let me just refresh it. Right? And then we're gonna have to paginate to style the anchors, right? So I'm gonna do the same thing, and then I'm gonna target my A, which are my anchors, and then I'm gonna set my color to black. I'm gonna set my floats to left, and then I'm gonna have some padding, maybe 10 pixels, 15, 15 pixels. Okay, and then text decoration. I'm gonna set this to none. So now when I refresh this, it looks a little bit nicer spaced out. So this is gonna be our first styling for our pagination. And you can see that it is it's an href, so you can have access to go to the next pages. Okay, good. Let's look at some additional styling. How do we tell which of these paginated links here is the active one? We cannot tell from this, so let's try and style that. So in order to be able to determine that, we do it basically by adding a class to this. So let's say we wanted 2 to be active, I'm gonna add a class to this, right? So that we can style that. So I'm gonna say class, and I'm gonna say active to show that that is the active uh, link here. Okay, so now we can now style the active, right? So I have my pagination, but I'm gonna be targeting my anchor and then the class, right? And then, sorry, the class is called active, right? And so now we can style this. So I just want to change the background color and say green. I want this green now. And then what else do I want? Maybe the font color. Font color. I want to set this to red. Okay, good. So now when I refresh this, you can see that that active link is showing, right? So you can tell visually that this is the active link. Okay, good. So how about we also add some hover effects to the pagination links here that are not active, right? So when we hover over them, it should at least change color so we know where we are at. Okay, so we could do that pretty easily. So it's the same thing. We target that element, so anchor, and then we have our hover, but we only want to hover over elements that don't have the class dot active, right? And then we can now target this. So now we have a background color, and I want to set this to maybe gray, right? So now when I refresh this and then I hover over it, you see the gray, right? And it only happens to only the ones without the class set to active. If we wanted a neat transition amongst colors, we can just add a transition here. So I can just add the transition and say I want the background color to transition, background color uh, in zero point 0.5 seconds. Okay, so this will give it some good transitioning, right? So you can see the transition into the color, right? Good. So that is what we want. Another thing we can do is if we wanted it to have borders, we can surely do that. We can have the border property, and then we can now set it maybe 1 pixel, solid, maybe DDD. Okay, and so now when we refresh this, we have a border around our elements. If we wanted the first and the last element to have a different styling, maybe you wanted it to have rounded edges, we could do that. We could target the first and the last by simply doing this. So we are going to target pagination, but just the first. But I'm going to target just the first child. All right, so I'm going to target the first child. And so I can now set this to border because it's the first child, the border top, left, right, radius. I'm going to set that to say 6 pixels. And then I'm going to target the border, no, the border bottom, left, radius, right? And then I could set that to 6 pixels also. So when I just refresh this, you see the rounded on this side, right? So we could do it to the last one also. And the way we target that is the last child. You guessed it, right? And then instead of border left, we're going to say border top right. And then border bottom right. Okay. So now when we refresh this, we should have both corners being rounded. And of course, I said I was going to keep this under 10 minutes, but I'm just gonna do one more. If we want spaces between this, what we can do is to add our margin, right? So I can add a margin here, and I can add 0 this and maybe 4 pixel, right? And what this 0 is for the top and bottom. So I'm saying that we don't want any margins there. But for the uh, left, right, I want 4 pixels in between. So when I refresh this, you see that it is spacious now. Okay, so this, I think I'm going to end here so I don't go way too far. So thank you guys for watching. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, please like, and please share this video. And see you in the next lesson. Bye.